There's a moment your mind freezes before you even understand what you're feeling. It hits like invisible cold air brushing across your thoughts, your chest tightens, your breath thins, and everything inside you slows as if someone quietly dimmed the world. For 10 silent seconds, your emotional brain reacts faster than your logic, pulling you into a pause you don't choose but instantly feel. There's a moment your mind enters that feels as if someone quietly pulled a curtain over your thoughts while the world around you keeps moving normally. Your eyes freeze on nothing, your breath shrinks into your chest. And for 10 soft seconds, your thoughts dissolve behind a wall you didn't know was there. This freeze comes so quietly that even you cannot detect the exact second it begins. Your mind doesn't freeze randomly because freezing is not confusion. It is a survival strategy your brain learned long ago. It freezes at the moment your emotions surge faster than your thoughts can process them. These 10 seconds become an emotional blackout where your mind steps away from the world to protect you from something that hasn't even happened yet. You've felt this freeze during conversations where someone says something unexpected and your mind empties out like a screen going blank. You hear your heartbeat louder than the other person's voice, and suddenly it feels like you forgot how to respond. These moments feel like personal failures to you, but to your brain they are necessary pauses. Because this freeze doesn't start in the moment you notice it. It starts earlier than your awareness can catch, growing quietly under the surface. It activates long before you ever realize something inside you is shifting. Your mind freezes because it senses emotional risk, even if the moment appears harmless. It tries to protect you from embarrassment, rejection, conflict, or vulnerability before your conscious mind recognizes any danger. The nervous system treats emotional uncertainty the same way it treats physical threat. These 10 seconds are your body's way of stopping you from acting too quickly or speaking too honestly. Your brain wants to pull you back from saying something that exposes too much of your heart. It chooses silence because silence cannot be misinterpreted, corrected, or punished. You freeze when someone asks a question you weren't ready to answer because your brain remembers moments where your honest answers caused pain. You freeze when someone surprises you emotionally because your brain fears giving the wrong response. You freeze when the moment demands a version of you that you don't feel ready to show. This freeze is shaped by old emotional memories that never fully left your body. Your brain stores experiences of emotional pain longer than anything else, and it replays them inside you without your awareness. That is why present moments feel heavier than they should. They're carrying echoes of moments you thought you had outgrown. Your mind freezes because your emotional brain reacts before your logical brain has time to step in. It scans the environment at lightning speed, looking for anything that reminds it of past emotional danger. When it finds even the smallest similarity, it shuts everything down. You might call this overthinking, but overthinking is what happens after you freeze. The freeze is the first alarm that rises inside your chest before your thoughts catch up. Overthinking becomes the explanation your mind builds afterward to make sense of something you didn't consciously choose. And here's the part most people never understand about this freeze. These 10 seconds feel like losing control, yet they are your brain's attempt to hold on to control. Your brain pauses everything so you don't speak impulsively or expose vulnerabilities you might regret later. You freeze when moments feel unpredictable because unpredictability activates your emotional defenses faster than anything else. Your emotional brain craves clarity, predictability, and emotional safety even when those are not required for the situation. Uncertainty becomes a trigger that shuts your mind down. When your mind freezes, your body instantly joins in. Your shoulders tense as if bracing against invisible impact. Your chest tightens as if the air itself became heavier, and your breath turns thin and quiet. Your nervous system enters a state of quiet alertness that looks still from the outside but feels overwhelming from the inside. You freeze because you fear being misunderstood, and that fear becomes louder than the moment itself. You freeze because you fear your words will be taken the wrong way and cause emotional damage. You freeze because your mind wants to protect you from consequences that may never occur. These 10 seconds show how strongly your past influences your present. They reveal how your brain learned protection before you learned expression. They reveal emotional patterns acting inside you even when you don't consciously remember where they came from. Your freeze response comes from moments where your vulnerability wasn't met gently. It comes from moments where your emotions were too much for others or too heavy for the room you were in. It comes from moments where staying silent kept you safe. Your brain reacts not to the current moment but to the emotional memories attached to similar moments. It creates fear from the past and places it inside the present. This is why your freeze feels irrational yet impossible to override. You freeze before expressing your needs because you fear sounding demanding. You freeze before sharing your feelings because you fear being labeled as too emotional or too sensitive. You freeze before answering simple questions because you fear saying something that reshapes how others see you. These 10 seconds reveal everything you want to say but stop yourself from saying. They reveal how deeply you fear being misread or misjudged. They reveal how much emotional weight you carry without letting anyone see it. But here is where everything begins to change. These 10 seconds do not have to stay in control of your life. You can learn to understand them, soften them, and gradually rewrite them. Awareness is the first key because awareness interrupts the autopilot. When you notice the freeze, you slow down the emotional brain's reaction. You create a moment where your conscious mind steps into the freeze instead of collapsing under it. A deep breath helps because breathing sends a signal to the emotional brain that you are not in danger. A small physical movement helps because movement pulls you back into the present. Even a soft internal reminder, "I'm safe right now," begins to calm the nervous system. Your emotional brain slowly starts learning that uncertainty is not danger. It learns that you can respond without harming yourself. It learns that your voice is capable of expression without causing emotional disaster. These 10 seconds slowly shift into something new. They become a pause you understand instead of a panic you fear. They become a moment of clarity rather than confusion. When you feel the freeze rising, you can breathe through it instead of disappearing into it. You can let your mind settle instead of shutting down. You can choose expression instead of silence. If this feels familiar, then you know the heaviness of those 10 seconds. You know what it's like to feel disconnected while trying to stay present. You know the frustration of wanting to speak but not knowing how. But you are not broken and nothing about you is failing. You are someone whose brain learned a pattern long before you learned how to outgrow it. That pattern stayed because it once kept you safe. Now you are learning something your younger self never had the chance to learn. That you are no longer living in those moments, that not every silence hides danger, and that not every conversation requires fear. With awareness, these 10 seconds lose their power. With practice, the freeze softens. With patience, your mind begins to trust you again. These 10 seconds don't define who you are. They reveal what shaped you. And as you grow, your relationship with these 10 seconds will change too. Once you learn to breathe through them, you realize something powerful. Your mind didn't freeze to stop you. It froze because it believed you needed protection, and now you are becoming someone who can protect yourself.